Vanguard have just announced some pretty big changes to their fees that will affect investors quite heavily, especially those that don't have huge balances or those that are just starting out with their investment journey. This change has only just been announced, but we've already been flooded with emails about it, and we knew we had to talk about this straight away, hence why you've got a bit of a lower quality video today, and also me, Luke, not the normal voice on this channel. Shout out to Ferg. I've also reached out to Damien of Damien Talks Money. For those who don't know, he's the founder of Financial Interest, along with myself. So I've got his thoughts about Vanguard's big changes that I'm going to play for you as well. The logical place to start here is with the fact that Vanguard are from the US, and if you're in the US, then you're actually able to avoid a lot of their fees, which are much smaller than in the UK anyway, even if you end up having to pay them. And their regular fund fees that everyone across the world has to pay when investing in their funds is lower in the US version of their funds as well. This is something we've been quite critical of in the past, including in our Vanguard review video, where we spoke about how UK customers feel like they get unfair treatment because they're charged 0.15% per year extra in account fees, capped at £375 a year, when compared to those across the pond in the US. Or at least they were charged 0.15% per year extra. The effective fee that people will now be charged is going up, quite substantially in some cases. They're also changing how they're taking the fees. So, from the 31st of January 2025, Vanguard will be introducing a minimum £4 a month account fee. This will only apply to those with balances that add up to less than £32,000 in total. And this is across all of your accounts. So if you have, say, 10k in a SIP and 22k in a stocks and shares ISA, you'd have exactly £32,000, which is the limit. And why this figure of £32,000? Some people have been asking us on email. Well, pretty simple. Their existing 0.15% annual fee works out to £4 a month once you hit this balance. Vanguard themselves give an example here of £10,000 in an ISA and £30,000 in a SIP. And if you had those balances, you would pay £60 a year, which is exactly what you would have already paid before these changes rolled out. Now, £4 a month might not sound like a lot to some people, but when weighing up how Vanguard compares to their competitors in the market, it actually changes their positioning quite significantly. If we look at our SIP comparison on Financial Interest, Vanguard, at the time of recording, are the second cheapest option on the market for small investors. With a £10,000 balance, it would cost you just £15 a year with a Vanguard SIP at the moment. But once this change rolls out, the new fee will be £48. This makes them more expensive than InvestEngine, AJ Bell, Hargreaves Lansdown, Nutmeg, Moneybox, Plum, just in this portfolio bracket. But more shocking than this is that this small investor bracket was previously the only bracket that Vanguard were actually one of the cheapest options in. Now they're on the more expensive side for small investors, and for medium and large investors, so in our table here, those with a £100,000 pot and even a £500,000 pot, they're on the more expensive side. There are plenty of cheaper alternatives. The same is true for their stocks and shares ISA as well, and this applies to all of their account types actually, except for the junior stocks and shares ISA that they offer, which was actually already a really expensive option on the market. Like I said earlier, I messaged Damien to get his thoughts here, and this is what he said.
I've always been critical about the platform fee. It's never made sense to me why you can buy Vanguard's funds for cheaper on competitors' platforms here in the UK than you can on their own platform. Instead of fixing this point, they've made it worse by introducing this minimum cap of £4 on balances under £32,000. What that means is people with smaller portfolios or investors who are just starting out are now paying more fees than they would have done. And that can be significant. If you're investing £100 a month and you're just starting out, initially that fee is, 4% of what you're investing, which is a huge fee. This to me feels like Man United putting up the cost of tickets for game days for kids and OAPs. It's just a bit of a dick move.
So not only are Vanguard more expensive than other platforms, and not only is it cheaper to buy Vanguard's funds on other platforms rather than directly with them, which is just weird to be honest, it's now even more expensive to do exactly that. And that's not all. Vanguard are also changing how they're taking their fees. So currently, Vanguard take their account fees from the cash that's sat within your account, and if you don't have any cash, then they sell a small portion of your investments to cover the fee. These fees are currently taken 100% from your general investing account if you have one. Now, the existing Vanguard website before these changes have rolled out actually says that if you have multiple accounts with them, a general account, a pension, and an ISA, for example, they take the fees from the general account before the other types of account so that you can make the most of your tax allowances. However, going forward, if you have multiple accounts with Vanguard, for example, a stocks and shares ISA and a general investing account, they will take half of your fees from one place and half of your fees from the other, or they'll just split it between all the different account types that you have. I guess they changed their mind about that whole maximizing your tax allowance thing. Alternatively, you can set up a direct debit to pay your fees. This means they don't sell any of your investments and you don't have to keep cash on the platform. So your portfolio remains slightly larger, but you technically invest more money because you're paying the minimum of £4 a month extra from your bank account in addition to the money that you're investing with them. Now, I know Vanguard are one of those brands that have a really loyal customer base, so I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you've made it this far. Does this change what you think about Vanguard? Would you still recommend them to other people if you did? Have you never even used Vanguard? Let me know your thoughts.